If you're wanting to buy a home, but you have absolutely no clue how much money you can spend or how much money you should spend, all you need to do is watch the rest of this video. Now, the first thing you're going to need to do is build out a budget. But because you don't know how to budget for it, I'm going to teach you how. So number one is you're going to have two different things to budget for. One is your monthly cost. Two is your upfront cost. First, we'll go into monthly because you're going to be doing that every month. That's really the biggest one to budget for. So number one is obviously your mortgage. Because you're going to have a loan on the home, you're going to have a mortgage. That's going to be a cost every month. Most people cut it there. How much can I afford on my mortgage? But there's going to be more than that. If you're in an HOA community, so say you're in a condo or a gated community, or even some home communities kind of have HOAs for maintenance, things of that nature, or security, you're also going to have to factor in an HOA. You're also going to have to factor in utilities. One of the best ways to see how much your utilities are going to look like is when you're negotiating with the seller, you can ask them how much their utilities are a month. That way you know a really good range of what it might look like for you. And lastly is taxes. Now, obviously, most of the time people pay taxes, when it's tax season. However, you can also wrap in your taxes into your mortgage. So if that's the case, you want to make sure you budget for that too. A lot of the time, lenders will allow you to, again, bundle your taxes and mortgage together for a monthly cost. Now, going past the monthly cost, there's an upfront cost. One thing that I always like to warn is so many people get into the idea of buying a home, but they don't have any clue really how much upfront cost it's going to be, especially first-time buyers. One thing you want to keep in mind is about 7 to 10% of the purchase price of the home you're going to have to pay in an upfront cost. So if it's $1 million home, that's $70,000 to $100,000 upfront, ready to go. So it's a really big thing to budget for, because you might be thinking, okay, I can afford $3,000 a month, but are you able to afford, $25,000 upfront if it's a $250,000 house? Things to look out for. So where does that 7 to 10% come from? Number one is the down payment. With an FHA loan, you can go as low as 3.5% down. Number two is closing costs. Now, this is negotiable. Technically, you could get closing costs 0, but normally on the buy side, it's going to be anywhere between 2 and 5% of the purchase price of the home. Now, lastly is the initial deposit. This is a minimum of 1% down. However, it's better to go higher. Normally, it's in a range of 1 to 3. So just keep that in mind when you're budgeting, is you're going to have your monthly cost, upfront costs. Upfront cost is going to be roughly 7 to 10% of the purchase price of the home. So keep that in mind when you're looking at the houses that are $700,000 and they look nice and good. You're going to have to come up with, 7 to 10%, 70 to however much that would be, maybe $50,000 to $70,000 upfront minimum. So keep that in mind when you're budgeting. Now, number two is pre-approval. Reason why I put this second instead of first is because of this. So say you get pre-approved for a $700,000 house, right? And the mortgage comes out on that to be $5,000 a month. But let's say in your budget, you realize that you were comfortable only spending, let's say, $4,000 a month. Just because you're pre-approved for a $700,000 house, $5,000 a month, doesn't mean you should be spending that much. So maybe, I don't know exactly what that would be, but let's say maybe it's $580,000 home would have you at that $4,000 a month cost. That's why you want to make sure that you do a thorough budget beforehand. That way you can bring that information to the lender and they can not just kind of give you a really random number. Oh, you can get approved for $700,000, pay $5,000 a month. Rather, when you have that conversation with the lender, say, hey, we looked at our budget, we're comfortable spending $4,000 a month with X amount of a down payment. How much can that get us? And they'll say $580,000. That way, you're bringing to them something, and it just creates more value for you. Now, a little hidden trick here is what one lender can get you is different from another lender. So the hidden trick is talk to a realtor first, because a realtor can connect you with, however many lenders you want, hopefully ones that they've worked with before, so they know, who's normally good, who normally has good rates, because what one lender can get you is going to be different from another one. So maybe one lender can get you a home for $700,000 at $5,000 a month, but another lender could get you $700,000 for maybe $4,800 a month. And while it is maybe saving only $200 a month, at the end of the year, that saves you what? $2,400. So on and so forth. Over the life of a 30-year loan, it's going to save you a lot of money. So as a little hidden trick on getting pre-approved, make sure you get more than just one opinion. And now, number 3, but really in importance, number 1, is you want to make sure you're comfortable with the payments. That's why, again, we start with the budget, see what that looks like, get pre-approved. Because again, you get pre-approved for a certain amount, doesn't mean you should spend it. If you take home after taxes $5,000 a month, you get pre-approved for a mortgage of $4,000 a month. And outside of just living cost, you spend $2,000 a month. Every month, you're going to be negative $1,000. So just because you're pre-approved for an amount doesn't mean that you should do it. Understand how it might affect you depending on the lifestyle that you lead. So number 3, but an importance, number 1, make sure you're comfortable with the payments. You want to be able to make them in your sleep. In real estate, it's very difficult to fail, right? If you own a home for 10 years, odds are, number 1, it's going to be worth more than when you bought it. And 2, even if it isn't, you're going to have multiple, you can rent it out, you can Airbnb it, you can make updates, all of the things. If you're able to get to a 5 to 10 year mark in owning a home, it's going to be a great investment. The issue is, and when people fail in real estate, is that they're not able to get to that 5 to 10 year mark. And the reason why that happens is because they extend their budget as much as possible, and they're uncomfortable with their payment, and after 2 years, maybe they have to sell, or they foreclose, or things of that nature, and then they fail in real estate. How we avoid that? Build a budget, look at your budget. If that number is comfortable to you, go right ahead. If it's not comfortable, you can't get the home that you want, don't go for it. So number 3, make sure your payments you can do comfortably. And now you know how to budget for a home. Let's make sure that you go buy a house. If you want to buy a house, I can help you with that. Go ahead and find my information in the description below. Reach out to me directly, and I'll help you get going. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like. If you really liked it, leave a comment. Let me know you did. If you really, really liked it, consider subscribing. I release videos once a week on Friday, teaching you the benefits of homeownership and how to buy a home. And I think they're really great, especially for first-time buyers or anyone who just wants to know more about real estate. So again, thank you for watching this one, and I'll see you next week.